just over a week ago, I went to China, Beijing, with Michael Gove and the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister's delegation, which was a trade and cultural sort of delegation. And you'll have seen in the press David Cameron signing lots of agreements and documents. At the education party, there were about 4 of us that went. Or was it 5? There were 5 of us that went. 2 vice chancellors, myself as president of the AoC. One of the vice chancellors was president of Universities UK. The chief executive of the Schools and Academies Trust, and a head teacher from Darlington, who runs a Confucius classroom, teaching Mandarin Chinese and cultural studies to students in the northeast there. A fascinating visit, and probably the most fascinating thing, and a life, one of those one in a lifetime experiences for me was to sit on the 18th floor of the Beijing hotel overlooking the Forbidden City, with the Minister of Education one side and his team, and Michael Gove and our team sitting the other side of the table. Talking to a Minister of Education in China is a bit different to talking to a Minister of Education here. Minister of Education in China has 1.2 billion people to support. Some of the statistics are absolutely staggering. For example, there are 1,200 polytechnics in China. There are 1.3 million teachers in China. There's a need to train 1,200 trainers of English to train teachers of English in China. So they just need, we need to help out in those areas. So we had big discussions, and in the end we signed 2 memoranda of cooperation. One was related to the provision of higher education of students coming to England, but also for us going to China to teach students over there in various ways. So we talked about that. But actually, and Martin Dole is talking much more to the Indians about the same thing. Everywhere we're going in the world at the moment, higher education doesn't appear to be the big issue. The big issue for these countries is the lack of technical skills and higher technical skills, and the quality assurance issues that are going on within colleges. And there's a huge markets both in India and in China, but in China is where I went, and they have, for example, no teacher training system for vocational teachers. So it's very difficult teachers tend to come from an academic background. So if you want to teach brickwork, they haven't got any teachers for that. So the people to teach brickwork need to come from a building site. Now in this country, we take them off the building site, we assess their if you like, their people potential at an interview, say that they will probably make good teachers. We put them in the classroom with mentors, and we put them through a 2-year part-time training program at the same time as them teaching. And it works fine, and we got some really high-grade quality vocational teachers. Now China, the whole of China hasn't got anything like that. So there's lots of things we can help them with, as well as, if you like, Chinese students coming here and boosting our income and them getting an English experience. We had big discussions about the need for better cooperation between the 2 countries, and we mustn't see it as England, as the Chinese market is just giving us money and giving us students and all the rest of it. That is entirely the wrong way. And actually, when you go to China, and that's the other thing that was in the memorandum of cooperation, giving our students a more cultural experience. And when I was over there were 6 colleges from Weymouth, 6 students from Weymouth College, and we met up with Michael Gove, and they all had the photograph taken, so they got into the Chinese newspapers. But us actually sending English students to China. Now, our culture here is not many young people want to go to China for a whole year and learn Chinese and study a vocational subject in Chinese. It's just not likely to happen because it's not in our culture. The Chinese want to do it the other way around, but we do need to prepare our young people much better to understand the Chinese market and actually to perhaps want to go there. It is possible. Nottingham University have a campus in Beijing, and you can actually study the 3rd year of the same degree you had at Nottingham in Beijing. And actually it's cheaper to study in Beijing than it is to study in this country, because the cost of living is so low. The academic fees are the same, but the living costs would be minute compared to staying in England. So if you wanted to immerse yourself in a Chinese culture, you could study a third year of your degree in Nottingham University, pay the same fees, have much cheaper living accommodations, and be in a Chinese culture for a year. So we've got to try to develop that sort of idea and that sort of those sort of issues, and try to get colleges to think about how they could get children, young people, more involved in the Chinese culture. We're not very good at it. And actually one of the other agreements we signed was around the Confucius schools and the teaching of Mandarin. And the Chinese government are prepared to give grants to schools. Now, whether they would be for colleges, and we can investigate that, to actually open up. They gave the Darlington head teacher £30,000 to set up a classroom with a full range of teaching materials in Mandarin Chinese, computers, interactive whiteboards and all the rest of it. And that school is, and in the playground, for example, I went out in the morning and walked around a park in Beijing, and they were all doing Tai Chi and sword dancing and all sorts of other things. But they had a lovely little game where it was like football badminton. It was a shuttlecock with a piece of cork with feathers sticking out of it, and lots of old men and younger men too kicking this shuttlecock to each other. But without a badminton racket, but it looked like badminton with your feet, and it was highly skillful. And that school in Darlington was doing that. And it's those sort of cultural exchanges and understanding how people live in China, how they think, how they don't use an alphabet, but they communicate through symbols, and they do it very well, is something that we've got to try and promote in this country, because essentially India and China are the fastest growing economies, and whether we like it or not, we will be doing a lot more work and trading with them in the future. So FE has to get more involved.